How's it going, everyone? This is your Astrology Horoscope for Thursday, August 8th, 2024. I'm astrologer Alex Skyles, and welcome to the Moonbase. Hope you guys are doing great. Good to be here with all of you, as usual. This moon in Virgo is still playing out the story of dealing with these oppositions to Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. So yesterday we saw this opposition from the moon in Virgo to Saturn and Pisces, and today we're going to see this opposition to Neptune right when we come into Thursday. So, like I said yesterday, this is... oh, man. Sorry. There we go. This thing is weird sometimes. Like I said yesterday, it's like this moon in Virgo, crossing Mercury retrograde, opposing Saturn, and now opposing Neptune here. It's been like a big reality check. Okay, and Saturn being retrograde, Neptune with Mercury in Virgo, a Mercury-ruled sign, it's like there's a clear message that I think is coming through. And, of course, Neptune is amplifying that, and Saturn really drew the line and, made it real and made it understood. And I think, or actually the vibration was felt, right? Maybe not understood yet, maybe not fully clear, because it will be when Mercury comes retrograde, comes back into Leo, right? Goes direct, moves forward, crosses where it went retrograde at 4 degrees here, where Venus will be today, and then comes to 18 degrees and will oppose Saturn. So that's when the clarity will come through. And I think I said that yesterday, but I think that gives a more visual picture of what's going to be happening over the next coming weeks with this Mercury retrograde and dealing with Saturn and dealing with Neptune, because Mercury's retrograding before it's fully dealing with Neptune, with the moon. Right after Mercury goes retrograde, has to deal with Mercury, then deal with Saturn and Neptune, which is where Mercury knows it has to go, where it has to go. And Venus is on its way there too. So, of course, Venus is involved in this, new heightened awareness and this greater spiritual expansion, obviously, with Neptune and Saturn and Pisces, the big spiritual lessons that are that we're being taught in this transit with Saturn here. So, Venus coming to oppose here, there's a lot of conclusions that, need to be drawn. There's a lot of things that need to be understood and multiple perspectives and different variations that need to be shared, I think, especially in our relationships. This is going to be so significant with Venus in the middle of all of this opposition to Saturn and Neptune. So, there can be some confusion in relationships that's going to come up during this Mercury retrograde that's not going to really clear up until Mercury opposes Saturn and Neptune here in September. And, there could be some fallouts at this moment where, it really is only a short period of time and things can get reconciled as, things, as the complications, start to settle and you can have time to digest things. Of course, words and, conversations don't really always with Mercury retrograde, it's like words can get very confusing and words can be misinterpreted in many different ways, and more so in a Mercury retrograde cycle. It's it's much more important to have to repeat yourself or have to be more clear and concise to get your point across. So I think too, and of course the sun, once that new moon in Virgo, the next new moon that we're going to have, it's like there's a lot of loose ends that need to be tied up right now with this Mercury retrograde and the moon and Venus opposing Saturn and Neptune. And this is like this is an ongoing thing over these next few weeks. And of course, when the sun and Mercury cross these points, this is where that new cycle is going to begin in this area. But there's a lot of loose ends that need to be tied up. I really feel like there's a lot of stragglers danglers, that are unnecessary, right? It's time to trim it up and, trim the lawn. It's like when a lawn doesn't get mowed for a whole fucking summer, right? It's just overgrown. There are things that can feel overgrown or haven't been attended to, or just been put off. This moon in Virgo is really bringing that into reality. And that's not an easy thing. And with Mars and Jupiter getting closer to their conjunction and Jupiter getting closer to the square with Saturn, there's some pressure building here. And, we're starting to feel the pressure quite a bit. But I think too, like being willing to step into the pressure and be calculated and diplomatic about why things are pressurized, and trying to weigh it out and look at it as like a positive thing, a positive form of pressure, right? So this is a moment when great things are being made, when great things are being created, when there's a lot of pressure, right? So there's a lot of creative potential, a lot of creative energy with this sun in Leo, but it's being, can you handle the pressure, and I think with this moon in Libra, once it comes into Libra, it will trine Pluto. So it's like when it comes to the pressure and the more deeper, intense things, being willing to accept that space at this moment and, step into it in a more calculated way of going about being in that space, especially with Pluto being in an air sign and the moon trining it. We have having an air trine from the moon to Pluto. So it's like, understanding that it's like, this darker place, it's looking at an emotional space from a non-emotional place, right? And trying to understand it. And of course, Mars and Gemini and Jupiter and Gemini too is the air signs, the mental. We have a lot of air energy coming in today, so things are getting much more mental and more objective and more calculated and less attached, right? To me, like Libra, Aquarius, Gemini are the most detached signs in the zodiac from their emotional state, and they're more capable of observing instead of being a part of the emotion, right? Like Cancer is more known for. So, I think this moon trining Pluto can really help us uncover some really intense things, and some intense things can be revealed that can lead to a positive outcome. And that can be very transformative, in the moon in Libra, it's like whatever solutions need to be found within partnerships and relationships, and, having to work together and come to agreements on some deeper issues, of, where we feel connected together as human beings, and the balance of that relationship and that connectivity, and, where things feel disconnected. This moon trine Pluto today, I think is pretty cool because, it can really help balance things out and repair some connections that, may have not been fully zapped together. And this moon will cross the South Node, so a lot of things from the past, relationship-wise, can start to, come about as well through this. And I think looking at the past and looking at how the codependency issues, and I think with this Black Moon Lilith on the South Node too, it's like the darker things, like even with this moon trining Pluto, it's like being willing to look into those darker spaces, and knowing what to really clear out and what to really let go of. And there's a lot of, like stragglers, like, things that are latching on, leeches, it's like this Black Moon Lilith South Node in Libra with the moon, it's like ripping off the leeches, right? It's like you're drawing too much out of you. If I keep drawing this much blood out of my body, there's not going to be anything left, right? So it's like if you're feeling dehydrated, it's like sometimes you gotta, maybe not dehydrated, but it just not fully, nourished in a way. So and especially like parasites, there's so much things going on the internet that I see about like parasites and all this stuff. So things hosting. That's what I'm feeling with this South Node energy today. So it's like being willing to rip those kinds of things off to really come into a better, more individualized, confident frame. So these eclipses that are coming up in October, these are the last ones with the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra. So this is the final eclipse moments of big change here. So I think this moon on the South Node is really like a ripping off, not necessarily like, there has been so much healing, right? It's like the scabs are becoming scars now with Chiron. After that North Node conjunction, after the eclipses with Chiron, so it's like, things are scabbed over. Now things are becoming more scars, right? So, but with that as well, it's like you can see the individual evolution of the self and the growth of the self with this North Node in Aries. That's destiny has been calling us towards that place, towards, evolving that sense of self and also healing that sense of self and the individual identity and the collective identity as well, and where you identify within the collective. And obviously there's been a lot of issues that the collective has been going through in that area. So, and Uranus coming to 27 degrees now. So we haven't seen this, and this is where Uranus is going to retrograde. So I'm pretty sure. So Uranus now is in territory. It's off of Algol, so it's in different territory and brand new territory that we have not felt or seen Uranus yet at all. So this is another note of Uranus and Taurus that will be played in the orchestra of this wild, intense Uranus and Taurus journey that we've had this year. It's been really intense. So, this will be interesting when Uranus goes retrograde to see what kind of thing. I think we had an earthquake here in LA last night. So, there's always some sort of natural occurrence. We see a lot of earthquakes during the period where Uranus is stationing to go retrograde, or especially when it's going direct. Of course, we've seen a lot of tech issues and, financial market issues and internet problems all over, So we're going to see a lot more interesting things going down with Uranus as it's preparing to go retrograde, which it's at the degree which it will. So here we go. We've been dealing with Uranus so much this year already. It's like, man, how much of this Uranus and Taurus can we keep rocking with? I'm really excited about Uranus and Gemini. Trining Pluto, the second half of the 2020s. It's going to be a way different vibe. 2024, like I'm feeling like by the time we get to the end of the decade, we're going to look at 2024, 2023, well, the whole thing, 2020. All of it. We're going to look at this like, holy shit. The second half of the decade is going to be much more exciting, to say the least. Uranus and Gemini will be very exciting collectively. But that can go two ways, obviously, with Gemini. And we look at the last Uranus and Gemini post-World War II. It was like, okay, like, of course, things were expanding, people's lives were changing, but, there's so much intense chaos going on, but also a lot of fun things. Like, it's like every possible thing happening at once, like the most ADD Uranus transit of all time. So it'll be fun. There we go. We got the Six of Wands. So, as difficult as things can be with this Saturn transit and, with this new reality that's coming into focus, as planets start to go retrograde, and we'll have 5 planets retrograde. Before you know it, it's like, you know, we're getting a really good glimpse into the other side. So, you know, I think there's always a reason to celebrate and to enjoy the good pleasures of life, but at the same time, it's like this card is so funny because like all the people in the back are like looking, but like the horses, I don't know if you can really see, but it's just like the horse's face is the only thing making like outward visual, you know, everybody's looking at the man. So it's like, but there's always, you know, it's like eyes in the back of your head. You know, when everybody else is looking towards one direction, it's like you look the other way just to see where no one else is looking. And that's usually where you find the gold. That's usually where you find the treasure. You know, looking where no one else is looking. So anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful Thursday, and I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.